Prospect Hospice near Swindon's offering hope and at the same time suffering huge financial challenges because money from the government's not keeping up with inflation. It's been facing a £1 million shortfall. Here's what the chief exec, Jeremy Lune, told us a couple of months ago when he was in.
In March, we had to close 2 beds. We're down to 6. The optimum is between 10 and 12, and that would take so much pressure off the bricks and mortar of the NHS.
Well, Sarah Jackson knows all about the importance of Prospect because of the support it's given her husband, Mike, who's got stage 3 prostate cancer.
It's given us courage, knowledge. It's given us that feeling we've got somebody watching our back. A number, we can ring them anytime, night and day, which I obviously don't do unless I, absolutely have to. What they do is above and beyond anything we could imagine. Any day or night, it could be any of us calling upon their services. And if for whatever reason that service was ceased to be there, I think it would be of huge detriment to every single one of us in this area.
Sarah Jackson's views. Well, this morning, some better news from Prospect I can share with you, which has managed to make some headway in making up some of that £1 million shortfall. Chief Exec Jeremy Lune here once again. Thanks for coming in, Jeremy.
No, it's my pleasure, and thank you for giving Prospect a platform.
Look, we'll get to the figures in a minute, but I just want to go back to what Sarah said. The knowledge for her has been great and for her husband, Mike, but courage as well. Giving people courage. Just pick up on that because, boy, you've got to be courageous. You've got to be brave.
Absolutely. It is the end of life, death, dying is something we don't talk about, we don't think about because we're so anxious. But there comes a point for all of us where we have to. And that's what my colleagues do so brilliantly. Sarah articulated it so well. We're there in the background, that we're there. They can pick the phone up to us day or night. And that gives people confidence and reassurance, I think. It isn't about us being at the bedside 24/7. It's giving them confidence and allowing them to be themselves for as long as possible. They're not defined by the role of patient and carer.
I'm imagining a million things going around in your mind. Well, not just imagine it, because my dad got the help of a hospice in Bristol in his dying days, and there's a lot of time to think. I'd imagine you're in that position if you're going through it, and in a different way, as someone who's trying to keep Prospect on the straight and narrow at the moment, a myriad of thoughts in your mind because it's just this maelstrom of challenge, isn't it?
It absolutely is. It's extraordinarily complex at times. We've got to think about the care we're delivering. Is it right for each and every individual? We've got to think about the government funding, which you've given us a voice. We know there's a real inequality there, and that's something we will shout about both individually and as a Hospice UK collective. And then there's the community fundraising, which, as to repeat myself from what I said a few months ago, it's giving us the breathing space. That is giving us time to reflect and change and move with the times. The government should be mirroring that.
So, get your abacus out. Tell us about the chunk that you've raised so far, because I know it's, if not beyond your wildest dreams, it's really given you hope that people have got your back.
Oh, absolutely. At times, this job can be quite exhausting for the reasons you've just spoken about. And this is giving us all hope. We had an emergency cash appeal, really, earlier, our spring appeal. Previous appeals have raised £50,000 at Christmas and things like that. This year, because we've talked about the urgent risks facing us and people finally have woken up to that we haven't been talking about it loudly enough, we got £177,000 from that. We had £60,000 every year from the Starlight Walk. I'm not belittling that. That's incredible. This year, £162,000. So 5 months into the financial year, we are £300,000 ahead of where we expected to be. We've got 7 months of real challenges ahead. We can't keep asking people to dig deeper and deeper, but we've got more shops. We've got a furniture shop open now, which is in Hobley Drive in Swindon. That is bringing in a lot of extra money, and people can buy sustainable and cheap furniture, or good quality furniture at cheap prices. All of these things are making a difference and giving us time to keep on doing what we're doing, but the government have got to listen.
Yeah. Any movement there? I know, you were marching on London, the placards were out and the meetings were set. What's the latest?
Well, I think, as featured on your news just now, St Catherine's in West Sussex have just put 35 clinical colleagues at risk. If their jobs go, then they can support less people. On Friday, it was St Giles in the West Midlands. These situations, I don't know if there's been progress. The government have only been in power for just over 50 days. They've got huge challenges. Everyone's asking them for money for very valid reasons. But how much longer can we carry on ignoring this? It isn't just... Hospice UK are asking for a £66 million, effectively a sticking plaster. Sounds like a huge amount of money, but in the national budget, compared to the difference it would make, that will allow us to pay all of our clinical staff across UK the 5.5% pay rise that the government have promised for NHS staff. We can't have inequality there. And going forward, the need for hospice services is only going to increase. I can throw out lots of statistics, but if you look around your family, friends and neighbourhood, you'll see more and more elderly people becoming increasingly isolated who will need that confidence and reassurance that was articulated just now.
And Jeremy, finally, where do you see hospices fitting into the NHS and the care model? You know, it's one thing about the cash needs to be there, but are there tweaks to be made and refits there, do you believe?
I think absolutely. And that's what, when I talk about the breathing space, that's exactly it. We need to think about how we complement, not duplicate, what the NHS are doing. Care in the community is 90% of what we do, looking after people at home. And that's the only way forward for the NHS. So you're absolutely right. We can't keep doing what we're doing the same way. Our earlier appeal, it said we're at urgent risk of closure unless things change. Now, we want the government change, but we've also got to change the way that we deliver care that works better within that system. And that's part of my responsibility.
Good to see you again. For what it's worth, they're doing some great history books at the moment at the Swindon shop. Yeah. My lad's studying at Cardiff Uni and I'm getting some great £2 books in the Prospect Hospice shop. So thank you for that, Jeremy. As he says, it all helps. And that goes for all the charities that we feature here on Breakfast. And we know that so many people work so damn hard to chip away, you know, whether you're working, you're volunteering, you're going into the shops, you're going into the furniture stores, as Jeremy said, it all makes a difference. Of course it does. By the way, the Department of Health says the government's inherited huge challenges, but ministers are determined to shift more healthcare out of hospitals into the community, like Jeremy was speaking about there.